So somebody that's able to leverage connectivity, build on that, and build that transition from how do I connect users to how I actually help my users achieve their outcome.
Welcome back to our interview series happening today at the ATxEnterprise, part of the ATx Singapore at the Singapore Expo. And with me today, I have Veraar, the Vice President of Digital Workplace and Strategic Solutions for the Enterprise Business Group at StarHub. Welcome, Sander. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Tara. It's great to be here.
Okay, so on to our first question. We are looking at AI native services and autonomous networks. So those are the big themes in the telecoms market today. So, and we expect these to be mainstream by 2030, right? So how do telecom operators evolve beyond connectivity providers into, digital infrastructure providers or providers of the platforms that support this?
Tim, that's a great question. It's very relevant based on what's been discussed at ATx and also beyond that. So connectivity will continue to be the foundation of digital enterprises, combined with cybersecurity and cloud. And there's a lot of talk about how to build a better network for AI, as well as how AI can help us build better networks. But the real opportunity is beyond that. So from a StarHub perspective, we've been investing in this. We've been leveraging AI and building our digital platforms and modern digital infrastructure framework, which better aligns with how clients are consuming digital infrastructure. If you speak with clients at the enterprise C-level, they're not talking connectivity, right? They're talking about AI, they're talking about better servicing clients, and they're talking about how they're going to grow. This is effectively what we enable. We can help enterprises with all three.
Wow. So, we see that, how a lot of companies, a lot of telecom operators are moving from telco to techco, right?
Yes.
So this is part of that transitioning.
Absolutely.
And we see the demand by enterprises, they're already coming to us for connectivity. And then why not expand that to the entire suite of services? Because connectivity is not a standalone service. It is essentially to connect the workers, connect their businesses to the network, to the applications, to their clouds, and they need, of course, all the other layers of services like security and stuff. So the entire suite. And who's better positioned to offer that if not telcos, right?
Absolutely right. So, and one thing that comes up is that enterprises tend to have too many vendors and they look for simplicity. So somebody that's able to leverage connectivity, build on that, and build that transition from how do I connect users to how I actually help my users achieve their outcome. And this is where the digital platforms, the digital transformation plays that telcos are building come into play.
Wow, interesting. So, we have a number of themes that we saw at today's show, and we want to know how this changes monetization opportunities. And we know that things like sovereign AI, that's a big thing, that's a big concern for a lot of people, and that's why they want to keep their data, within certain borders, right? And then we have satellite, we have edge computing capabilities, and then we have 5G advanced accelerating globally. So where do you see the biggest opportunities for telcos?
So it's true that AI opens up a new opportunity for telco. At a conference I was yesterday, one of the attendants was talking about their challenges making AI available for doctors. And it's largely about responsiveness of applications. So what you want to get away from is a doctor saying, oh, this does not respond. Let me just quickly write you a note, just give it to my receptionist and off you go. So our role as telcos in that ecosystem, enabling that low latency, secure, trusted communication is key. However, to your point, the big monetization is beyond that, right? It's about being able to take that connectivity and make it part of something larger. Really building those interfaces, leveraging those digital platforms that help enterprises achieve those business outcomes.
Wow, interesting. And I guess, in your experiences, you work with a lot of enterprises. Each enterprise would have their own priorities.
Yes.
And then the use cases are very different.
Yes.
Some would go for, I want a lot of bandwidth. Some would say, I want it to be super secure.
Sure.
And then another one would say latency is the, is a make or break for us. And I guess how challenging it is today, to cater to the demands of, different enterprises in different, not only different sectors, but also different countries across the region.
Yep.
In your experience, how do you see things, and how do you guys tackle this?
Okay. So StarHub, we have a regional network, but we're predominantly a Singapore connectivity provider, and our infrastructure is modular.
Okay.
So it represents the way clients consume network, and we have the ability to meet clients' needs that either are around security or around low latency or are pure high bandwidth of connectivity.
Okay, all right, okay. So that way, you can basically tailor something that is, suited for each different enterprise. Yes. Because you do have this modular approach where you can plug and play and then create the stack that people need. So each stack can be unique. Yep. Based on the need of the enterprise.
Well, I would say tailor, right? So because at the underlay, a lot of it is so common, right? So we've made large investments to digitize our infrastructure and to cloudify our infrastructure. So that common layer is there. But based on that common layer, we're able to build niches or modules that cater to specific clients' needs.
Okay. And then coming back to this part of the world, right, Southeast Asia's, this region, we see the digital economy or the digital economy agenda is a huge thing. And all the governments are trying to drive it, trying to steer, the economy to adopt, a digital transformation, and then and to see how this benefits social outcomes and also the economic outcomes and so forth. So what will differentiate telecom operators in this sense from other players, eyeing the same market, especially we are talking about hyperscalers and also other digital infrastructure players?
So there is a lot of investment in Southeast Asia, and that's also because the region represents a good growth opportunity for enterprises. And from governments as well, right? So there's a lot of government investment as well. What set telcos apart from cloud service providers or digital infrastructure providers is one, the integrated network capabilities or the integrated infrastructure, plus the digital platforms, plus the ability to deliver business outcomes on top. Southeast Asia is a very diversified market, and to succeed, you really need that local knowledge, local operational capabilities on the ground, as well as the assets in country that enable that. But ultimately, it's not necessarily around us versus the hyperscalers. We're all part of the same ecosystem, right? And we all work together to unlock the same outcome for our clients.
So I guess, there's so much talk about partnerships and ecosystem, and I think you brought up a very, very important point there. And I think telcos, in this game, in this ecosystem, you guys are a core, I would say a fundamental element, because you can connect everything and everybody, from regulators and investors and enterprises. And then on the retail side, of course, you have the billing relationship we have with like all the subscribers, millions sometimes, right? So and the vendors, like you pointed out, you need to work with the vendors as well to be able to bundle all this for the enterprises. So, in building these partnerships, telcos, take that basically the lead in every way. And I guess that's a huge mandate for your teams.
Well, it is, Tara, and that's exactly where the opportunity lies for us in that ecosystem, right? As orchestrating all of these different things to come together and deliver outcome for our clients. Like I said before, enterprises are looking for simplicity. They're not necessarily looking at connectivity, but they're looking at return, about value. And that value is really created by the ecosystem coming together and achieving that outcome for a client.
Awesome. So, Sander, thank you so much for joining us. And these are great perspectives, and I can see that it's the enterprise segment is definitely a growing market, and it's becoming a huge focus for telcos around the world. And I guess our StarHub is very, very well positioned to tap into the market, given that Singapore is a hub in this part of the world. It's a main hub. So, looking forward to reconnecting. In another occasion to learn more. Let's keep in touch.
Thank you, Tara. It was great being here. I look forward to seeing you again.
Awesome.